Quite often, the unsung hero of any home is the domestic boiler. It plays an almost invisible role in our lives, producing hot water and heating on demand whenever we need it. They come in all shapes and sizes, some even sporting high-tech interfaces that can communicate with you through an app on your phone. However, it still remains one of the most functional areas of the household that we regularly take for granted. That is, until something goes wrong. If you've ever suffered the misfortune of having to endure a wintry evening without warm radiators or a choice of water temperatures, you'll soon develop a newfound respect for these unassuming metal boxes that live in the airing cupboard. Top Northwest gas and plumbing expert Danny Heald from Heald Services understands the panic caused when the boiler suddenly goes on the blink.
Usually most boilers are relatively simple to fix depending on the age of the appliance and how well it's been serviced. What we would normally do is give people a 3-point checklist just before they call out the engineer, which would be: is the power to the appliance, has the fuse spur been knocked off? This can especially happen when the boiler is installed in a confined space such as an airing cupboard. We would also ask, are the external controls asking for heat? Is your programmer on? Is your room thermostat switched up? And then finally we'd ask, have you got gas to the appliance? Has the meter been knocked? If you've got a prepayment meter, have you got sufficient credit on that meter? The biggest problem we do have is with older appliances. When they break down, if manufacturers no longer supply parts for that boiler, even the most simple mechanical repair can result in replacing that appliance.
There are many options on the market, which at first glance can seem overwhelming, but if your boiler does need replacing, in reality you only have 3 different types to choose from. Number 1. Conventional boilers have a traditional heating mechanism and a separate cylinder to store the hot water. They need a cold water tank in the loft to refill the cylinder, and also another tank to help maintain the pressure in the radiators. They're good if you have frequently used multiple bathrooms or an older style radiator system requiring lower water pressure. Number 2. System boilers, on the other hand, are a more modern alternative, combining more of the heating components within the boiler itself. They still require a cylinder to store hot water, but you can choose a pressurized cylinder which eradicates the need for separate cold water tanks. Number 3. The biggest space saver is the Combi, which doesn't require any separate tanks as it takes the water directly from the mains supply and provides unlimited instant hot water. The downside, however, is that they can struggle with large or high-demand households, so tend to suit smaller properties and apartments. They can also be expensive to install if you're converting from an older system. The boiler that's right for you really depends on your situation and your budget.
The cheapest option would be a like-for-like swap, as this just involves changing one boiler for the new unit. Prices for such systems would range from between £1,800 to around £3,000. A modern system boiler and pressurised cylinder would be the ideal choice for a larger dwelling with multiple bathrooms and high hot water demand. Prices for this type of system range from around £5,000 to state-of-the-art systems like this behind you being onwards and upwards of £15,000.
The other factor to consider is the impact a boiler's quality and condition can have when listing a property for sale on the market. Most buyers, when viewing properties, usually make some kind of an inquiry as to the state of the current boiler.
It's a question that we get asked time and time again from people viewing properties, and there are good reasons for that, with the cost of replacing a boiler or a central heating system potentially running into the thousands. Many people view the good working order of the boiler and the heating system to be a good general measure of how well the property is being looked after by the current owners. Most people will take those costs into consideration when making an offer on a property, and so as an estate agent we think it's always worthwhile having your boiler serviced prior to listing the property, and of course sharing that service history with us. Obviously, having a brand new boiler or central heating system can also be a great selling point. If you're a buyer and you've got any concerns about the costs of repairing or replacing the heating system, don't forget to raise those with your agent.
At Heals, we're always here to help, and we have access to a whole network of high-quality local experts who can give you the best advice for any situation that could occur with your boiler or heating system.